Perfect. All right.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to Left Bank Books. Thank you for supporting a local bookstore. My name is Jeff. I'll keep my introduction short so we can get to the actual event of the evening. Tonight, Landon Jones is here with his new book, Celebrity Nation: How America Evolved into a Culture of Fans and Followers. Landon Jones is the former managing editor of People and Money magazines. In his book, Great Expectations, he coined the phrase baby boomer. And he is originally from St. Louis, Missouri. Joining him tonight, we have Tanya L. Roth. She received her PhD in history from Washington University here in St. Louis, and she teaches at MICDS. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I hope I can be heard too.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so happy to be here in this legendary bookstore. I tell a story in my book about Allen Ginsberg, who I believe used to shop here when it was first started. And I grew up in my childhood home was on Waterman Avenue, just a couple of blocks from here. Anyway, it's wonderful to be here and to have a good friends here and some classmates. And thank you, Tanya, for being willing to join our conversation. What I wanted to do first, before we really all kind of talk, she and I talk, and then we all talk, is just to stir the pot with a few comments about why I did this book and how it came to be. It used to be that celebrities were a significant diversion. It was something funny, superficial, gossipy, but not harmful, a source of funny stories. But that was before the celebrity phenomenon morphed into a vast profit-generating enterprise that I think of as a celebrity industrial state. And it's all around us. I mean, just this week, you watch the news, NBC on Monday night, I made a note, took notes. There's important things happening in the world. They talked about Madonna, Elton John, Adele, and I think maybe Kevin Spacey. Then at Wimbledon, we see tennis players, but we see celebrity influencers in the audience modeling their clothing that they're being paid to wear. Then yesterday, I read that the new entry to become the senator, and then the next campaign from Michigan is Hill Harper. And Hill is identified as an actor from CSI and The Good Doctor. And I didn't even know of him. And when you read his bio, which is neglected, in the articles all talk about his life as an actor. But actually, he's a very accomplished guy. He got Harvard Law School. And but you wouldn't know because the media has a role in characterizing these people. And they mischaracterizing these people. A thought experiment I had done related to books is, what if there were no celebrities? What would be different? And well, the big difference is that half the bestseller list would be gone because they are celebrity memoirs. I mean, really. And so the memoir is an obligation celebrities often undertake to prove themselves and to sell a redemption story. That's the kind of story they sell. So anyway, so I'm happy to report that the big news in publishing today is that Britney Spears is publishing her memoir, and I guess in the fall. And so, it goes on. Anyway, so at People magazine, I've met a lot of celebrities. And everyone kept saying, you should write a book. And I didn't want to write a dopey book about celebrity anecdotes. And I wanted to write about something more serious. Like, why did this phenomenon happen? When did it start? And what is it doing to us? And that was sort of the points of my book. And defining a celebrity is always a problem. The Librarian of Congress, Daniel Boyston, put it best in his book, The Image, written back in 1961. A celebrity is a person known for his or her well-knownness. And it's hard to top that one because it's pretty. And Andy Warhol famously said, in the future, everyone would be famous for 15 minutes. And he may never have said that, but everyone thinks he did, and we'll let it go at that. So it turned out this book is a combination of three things. One is there are some personal anecdotes, but I try to draw a lesson from them. And the other is a history of celebrity itself, which dates back to Alexander the Great. I can explain later why Alexander the Great is important. And then also the emergence of defiant celebrities. The more defiant a famous person is, the more they get talked about. So this has gone from Oscar Wilde and Sarah Bernhardt to Madonna and Donald Trump. It goes on and on. And then it's related to technology. That every time a new technology emerges, it almost creates a new generation of celebrity. And then finally, the other important point is what is it doing to us? And a lot of this is social science. There's studies that have been done recently about the damage, mostly damage that's done to us. Anyway, so it's about the process. And to really I don't want to talk too long here. Am I going on too long?
Oh, this is fascinating.
Okay.
It's your show.
Photography was the big change in the 19th century. So when people, and it put the emphasis on entertainers. And so we have Buffalo Bill Cody was the first person to really leverage photography to mass produce his image and making him literally one of the most recognizable humans in the world, aside from the British royals. And then we had newsreels and radio and film, and that would introduce modern celebrity with the frenzies around Charles Lindbergh and later Albert Einstein. And then the golden age of Hollywood with movies, Elizabeth Taylor, and she actually was the first influencer with her perfume brands. And then came television, and then came reality television, which is sort of interesting. Reality television started when there was a Hollywood actors and directors strike, and that was at least 20 years ago. That was because the producers tried to find a cheap way to make shows, and that was a reality show. And now there's a strike really gone into a full effect today. And you kind of wonder what's going to be the effect of that. Anyway, all of those things generate celebrities. And the technology has changed most dramatically with the introduction of the smartphone and the social media. In case you were wondering, Kim Kardashian has, as of this afternoon, I looked it up, 363 million followers on Instagram. Then I worry about children and the impact on children of all of this. In Britain, the organizers of National Children's Day asked children under 10 to reveal their Christmas wish list. And number one was the desire to be famous or to be a celebrity. And that was followed by good looks and being rich or to work for a celebrity. But never mind heroism or doing good works. It was simply not there. And this goes on and on. There are many studies that show this. And the hunger for fame is not about we. It is about me. And so people who are celebrity worshipers, the more likely you are to be a celebrity worshiper, the less likely you are to vote and to be a member of your community. So I found that kind of bizarre. Celebrities are at risk, and they suffer from narcissism. They suffer from short longevity. A female celebrity, this has been studied, lives on average 20 years less than the average woman. 20.
Wow.
And why is this? There's a variety of reasons for that, but it's not good. Now, I have a story about Mel Gibson, but I can tell that now or tell it later. I'll tell it later. Okay. Anyway, celebrity is at the center of an ecosystem that kind of runs an entire spider web of industries. Media, nightlife, entertainment, fashion, publishing, and television, much more. the thing now is to look past that and see if celebrities can do the same. And can we still find heroes? And can celebrities talk about heroes? I hope they do. And can they approach the public honestly and unmediated by the intense media coverage, which I think is a big part of all of this. It's a conspiracy of media marketers and the willing public. And then if they can do this, there's hope. Anyway, so that's a kind of a warm up. And so we can talk and you can hold my feet to the fire. Okay.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah, do you want this? Yeah.
Hello. If you have not read this yet, I loved this. Like opening this book, and maybe this is because obviously we're different ages.
Yeah.
But reading this book, it was like this was a lot of my lifetime. People came out 5 years before I was born.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you talk about in the book, this is what I've grown up with. I've been around, and I have a 10-year-old son, so I spend a lot of time thinking about. You know, my son comes to me, he's like, I want to be a YouTube star. So I see that phenomenon, and I think the way that you've captured it here is such a great history and analysis, and it's a lot of fun to read. So if you have not read it yet, it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. So this is just really fun to get to talk to you directly and ask you the hard questions.
Yeah, totally.
Well, can we start with talking about that statistic you had about how female celebrities live 20 years less on average? And you talk about in the book how celebrity is different for women than for men, and for people of color than white celebrities. Could you talk a little bit more about the differences with gender and race in celebrity and what that means?
Yeah. Well, let's see, the celebrity system for a long time has been heavily biased towards men, and particularly white men, and so people get left out, and the people left out are marginalized. And this is initially it was women, but when we talk about heroes, say the Age of Revolution, we're talking about Napoleon, we're talking about Toussaint Louverture. We're talking about Simon Bolivar, all these revolutionaries, but no one ever talks about Catherine the Great. And I just find that sort of interesting. An incident, for me, it was Hollywood has been a big conspirator in this. I went to the Oscars when I first became editor of People, and I was sitting up kind of up, sort of high above the floor where people, stars and so on was sitting. And I noticed there were some people standing around, very well-dressed people standing around the margins of the crowd. And I said, who are they? And they said, well, those are the seat fillers. I said, what's a seat filler? A seat filler is somebody got up to go to the bathroom or to get an Oscar. The seat filler would run and sit in their seat. So when the camera panned around, there were no embarrassingly empty seats. The seat fillers were also all white elitist people. So even when Hollywood had the chance to fake it, and they could have easily, they didn't. And so that led to a People cover story called Hollywood Blackout, which one thing I was really quite proud of the People. Going back to women, but the women suffer from self-image issues, and that has a lot to do with the longevity, and the dispense work took much more quickly than some of the men who hang in there longer. And they have to evolve. And one person I interviewed was Elizabeth Taylor, who really did evolve, because she was a beautiful young woman, and then she became a classic, star system star, and was the star system manager career. And then she became a fodder for gossips with her multiple marriages and so on. But she finally kept working and working and working. And she got more serious about it. And she got into drug and alcohol abuse and zero.
I have to admit, when you were talking about Elizabeth Taylor in the book and just now, this star that I always think of earlier in the century that for me was always vital was Shirley Temple, which I don't think any of us think of as a celebrity anymore, but she fits the model. Child star, celebrity in the 30s and 40s, but then she aged out of
Who was
that.
this again?
Shirley Temple.
Oh, Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she didn't stick around in Hollywood like Elizabeth Taylor
No,
did.
she left. She became an ambassador.
Yeah, and
Right.
so it's so interesting to me that people who then leave. I wonder how many people we have like that who leave celebrity behind because we don't think of them, right?
Yeah, I have some hope that women will lead the way in doing that. I mean, sometimes they're ridiculed. I think of Jane Fonda, who was an actress, but when she became political, she got ridiculed. And so it hurt her. And I think they're quicker to do that to women than to men.
I think that's a great thing to think about, politics of celebrity and celebrities being political. I remember when I was younger, when I was watching the Oscars in my teens and my 20s, and I started to notice actors putting political messages into their thank yous. And I remember family members saying, well, that's not what they're supposed to do. But if you watch, it happens all the time. Like if you're on a stage and you're a celebrity, there's probably a message. And I think we see that a lot more now with social media, right? It's much easier as a star to have your message. You don't have to just have a microphone at the Oscars, but it's not uncommon. So how, is there anything that makes a celebrity more effective at getting out a political message or drawing support for a political cause? Is there something that makes somebody better at that than others?
They get attention and they get talked about. And the media overreacts and gives it extreme attention. I was joking with some friends today that we used to say of people that a celebrity without a cause is like a woodpecker without a tree. You know, it just happened. Now, I don't really know how this all ends up exactly. I can't predict that. You do say more and more people are trying to leverage fame for other purposes. But the people who are really in control are the marketers who are pushing products and are controlling the media access. And I saw this on the inside when I was working in the media. And they were paid to do it. You know. Can I tell my Mel Gibson story?
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to tell them.
Yeah, here's Mel
This
Gibson.
is about narcissism, and it's about males, but a friend of mine, Jim Gaines, was the editor of Life magazine, and they were figuring out their covers one year, and the December cover, they were going to put Mel Gibson on the December cover. And so they did all the interview and the photographs, but they did some more market research. And the market research told them that there would be it was a better idea for a cover. And the cover was religion and it would be God. And so the God would be the cover. And so, but somebody had to call up Mel Gibson's people and tell them. So somebody called up Gibson's office or his manager or somebody and said, well, I'm sorry, but Mel is not going to be on the December cover. And the person said, well, who is going to be on the December cover? And Gaines said, well, it'll be God. And then the pause. And then the publicist said, Mel will be very disappointed.
And to ask you to follow up on that when you're ready.
Yeah, but I said, Gibson and God are still on speaking terms.
What I wondered was that before or after he did those movies about religion?
Oh, I don't, before.
Before. I wonder if you caused him to do those movies.
Maybe.
Gave somebody to work with. I love that story. And could you also talk to us about some of the more fun experiences you've had with celebrities over the years? Some that stand out, the unique or humorous occasions.
Stories.
Yeah.
What a story! Where to start? The most embarrassing story was later one night, I was editing, it was about 3 a.m. And I'm editing, I was the last editor because they made all the fixes. And I came across the name of Abe Vigoda. Some of you may remember the actor Abe Vigoda. He was in Bonnie Miller, the TV or the detective show, and also he was in The Godfather, where he plays Tessio, a gangster. And so I saw his name, and I said, he's dead. And so I wrote the late Abe Vigoda, and that went into print. Well, it turns out he was not dead. The rumors were greatly exaggerated. And he called a press conference to prove it. And he posed for photographs in a coffin, holding a copy of People. And he went on to live about 36 years later, longer. And when he died, he made the front page of the New York Times. And my error was in the lead. That was, but the semi-serious point I was making was that when a celebrity has dropped out of the news cycle and you don't see them at all, you think, well, they must have died. And that's what I irrationally concluded. Yeah.
I have to admit, I feel like Mikhail Gorbachev died 5 times before he really died in the last year or two. I teach modern world history, and one day I was like, wait, Gorbachev just died? I thought he died a long time ago, so it happens a lot. What about, you've met so many fascinating people. What are some of the most meaningful encounters that you've had? People who really, you have a lot of lessons you learned from your encounters. What stands out to you as something really meaningful?
Well, the most meaningful one for me was the first one. And this was amazingly, when I was in college, I was trying out for the school newspaper. And they said, Malcolm X is going to give a seminar. Would you go interview him? And I thought, he's not going to want to interview me. And I read about him, or be interviewed by me. And I thought he was a terrorist. I was really generally afraid. And I thought he would hate me. And so, but I screwed on my courage and went and sat down with him. Well, everything you think you know about a celebrity is often wrong. And he was professorial, he was thoughtful, he was patient, he tried to educate me to his point of view. And most remarkably, he was uncompromising. He did not sugarcoat anything, but he said it all in a mutually respectful manner. And that's what I really liked about Malcolm. And that interview, more than anything, made me decide to become a journalist. I thought, you can get paid to do this, and you can learn and meet these interesting people. Right. Okay.
I think you mentioned him in the intro before you get into the story, and I did the math. I was like, Malcolm X was not alive when People magazine came out. How did you interview him? So I love that it was so much earlier in your background and experience. What an opportunity. We don't think about those things to get to encounter people who have such an important role in American history and American psyche. And I was blown away. Do you know if we can find that article online anywhere or in the archives at Princeton?
What, the Malcolm X article? It's hard to find. It was on the Daily Princetonian newspaper.
Okay.
And you can maybe find it, but it's not easy. I did find it for my research. One of the things I wanted to mention is the encounter with celebrity. The encounters, we've all had it. I mean, you've been in a restaurant and somebody famous walks in, and then all the forks sort of freeze in the air. And people, they look over, and this happens again and again. And it's something sort of innate in human nature that does this. And this goes all the way back, almost, to the Greek gods. Because I don't know if worship is the right word, but we are attracted to what we think is something special. And the word that a scholar uses is numinosity, that there's a link with the divine. And it carries over from the gods, the Greek gods, into mortals, and that's the problem we have now. Alexander the Great was usually identified as the first really famous person. Why? Because he had his face put on a coin, and it was technology that did it. His was the first mortal face. Before that, the faces were the Greek gods. And then here's a human being with his face on a coin, and that changed it, but it also made him, divine and attractive. The word celebrate, when you look at the first thing I did in my research practically was go to the Oxford English Dictionary and look up the origins of the word celebrate. And it comes from celebrant. And celebrant in the church is a person who performs a mass, and it's the link between the worshiper and the divinity. And so that's the celebrant, that's the priest. And that's and that word is sort of morphed into the word celebrity.
So cool.
Okay. How are we time-wise?
I think we're doing okay.
I want to be sure that we
Yeah.
give people plenty of time to talk to.
You ready to talk about Twitter?
Twitter?
Yeah.
This is not my field of
That's okay.
expertise.
No, you talk about the role of social media in the book, and Twitter comes up a little bit. And Twitter's been through a lot of changes in the last year or so, right? One of the conversations in my social networks right now is how Twitter is changing, everybody's leaving. But I know in the literary world, for a long time, authors and publishers and agents relied on Twitter to get out word about books, and also Instagram and Facebook, right? But Twitter's changing, and that place where celebrities could go and have a lot of followers is changing. And you talk about, for example, the shift to Michaela scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I'll let him tell you about it, but Michaela on Instagram, I went and looked at her profile.
Did you?
I was shocked.
Michaela is artificially as a bot, created by basically a form of artificial intelligence. But she's on Instagram and some other places, and she's exceedingly realistic. If you look at her, you believe her. And I'm waiting for her to start backing candidates and stuff, and have a political agenda. But she's made up, and then that's what we're buying and consuming now, and it's sort of sad. In my book, when social media first happened, like for example, YouTube, the whole YouTube phenomenon came from, remember this famous wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl?
Right.
When
Janet Jackson.
Justin Timberlake sort of pulled the blouse off Janet Jackson. Well, the guy who started Twitter, that became very heavily reproduced to that image. And he said that gave him the idea for YouTube, not Twitter, YouTube. And he started YouTube on that basis. So that just came out of that. But then we're back to Twitter and TikTok. And these people, they are famous, but for what? For nothing. What's their accomplishment? The accomplishment is simply getting eyeballs. And this is a sad state of affairs. And I really do think there needs to be a voice of authority. I mean, the Knight Foundation and the Gallup Foundation have done a study on misinformation the American public now has. And what are the sources of it, of course? Whether the main people they listen to are TV talk show hosts, whoever they are, this could be anybody, and it is a pecking order, and it finally gets down to scientists and experts are at the bottom. So it's people who command an audience and get talked about are at the top. And this includes the Twitter people and the, TikTokers and the influencers.
So, sorry, I don't have a real clear question around it, but I was thinking about, if we see in the next year or so, for example, that a lot of people and celebrities leave Twitter and they'll go on other places, of course, but do we have any other form of social media where you see celebrities maybe start to gather, or are YouTube and TikTok just going to be the future of our celebrity for now, or what's your guess?
I don't know. I'll be interested what you people think. I don't really know. I joined Threads, but I can't tell what's going on there. I simply am mystified.
I'm a little mystified too.
I hope you understand it better than I do, Patty.
Not really.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm waiting for a counter revolution somehow to happen, but that's just I have no evidence of that happening. Although, yeah, we'll see.
I think that's interesting to think about, like what comes next.
Yeah. Well, what comes next is going to be a new technology of some kind, and that or is I said it creates a new generation, and I hope it's a good one. And well, the reason the eureka moment for me in writing this book was early on when I was the editor of People. I would go to focus groups to see what people were interested in hearing about, reading about. And the focus group moderator would always warm up the group with a sort of throwaway question, just to get them talking. And the question was, who are your heroes? And she would ask them that. And I saw her do this a number of times. But then one time, she stopped doing it. And so I said to her, so how come you don't ask the heroes question anymore? And she said, because they can't think of any. And that was revealing. And then I thought, well, this is a battle between heroes and celebrities. If you said, who are your favorite celebrities, they would go on forever. But they name a hero, they couldn't do it. And there was something wrong with that. And that's why the battle between heroes and celebrities was a theme that I talk about in the book. And it really got me going. I thought this is not unimportant. This is important.
I loved that distinction. That really grabbed me in the beginning too, to think about heroes versus celebrities. And I think that's really what kept me going so much in the book. I think it's just a fascinating thread to think about. And maybe because I work with high school students, and so I'm always thinking about who are they going to be looking up to? Who are they going to admire? And so it's fascinating to think about, or the celebrities they think of too. Can we ask you who your heroes are?
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, ask me.
So, you teach European history, American history, or both?
World history and American history.
Okay. So, when there are people of interest here, like for example, I encountered stories about Andrew Jackson. Do you teach him at all?
I do, yes.
Because he, in the election of 1828, he was something like a celebrity.
Yeah.
He was a military hero. And what he also did, the newspapers were just being started in America, daily newspapers, and he got a conspiracy of newspaper owners all to editorialize for his campaign, technology. And so he was using a newly established technology, the daily newspaper, to run his campaign with. And I found that really, really quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting too. I'm more of a John Quincy Adams fan, but it's one of my favorite things to teach about is that transition. We talk about in the class is Andrew Jackson becoming the man of the people and the rise of Jacksonian democracy, this idea that everybody can have a part to play in the American government, although the 1820s and 30s, it's still white males who are voting, and that's about it for another 30 years at least.
Wow. The people who come out of social media, in some ways, are like Andrew Jackson because they're populist. It gives jet fuel to the populist movement, and because they're people just like us,
yes.
and they thrive on that, and that's what happens. But it's not the opposite of an elitist.
Yeah. So let's try with celebrities. Who are the celebrities that you admire? Are there celebrities that you admire?
It varies. I'm not good on that question. It tends to be writers. It tends to be people active in civil rights who've done good work in civil rights. That's pretty much the ones that stand out to me because there's an element of self-sacrifice that I see happening there. But I need to get a better list. There are people, Greta Thunberg, the teenage climate change activist. I admire her. And she continues to be this way. Maria Ressa, the woman in the Philippines who's crusading, also young, won a Nobel Prize for free speech in the Philippines. So, I mean, she's a hit, but I don't really know much. I don't need to know much about them. I just want to know what they do.
I think the other thing before we switch into questions, I know you mentioned the writer's strike and the Screen Actors Guild strike that just, the Screen Actor Guild, how they just went on strike with the writers today, all the actors.
Oh, yeah.
So we think about that as a political action. I know this is just speculating what might happen. How important is it that the actors have joined in this strike? Because nobody knows the writers, right? We know their work, but it is the actors who are the face that we see, right? People know those names. Is this a moment when, at least in this industry, we see celebrities have a chance to become heroes?
I don't know.
What do you think?
It'll be interesting to see in the strike with the actors who are the leaders, who takes the lead, and is recognized for doing so, and how well they do it. Are they saying it's self-serving, or are they saying it's sacrificing, for the little guys? And some of the actors are talking like that, and they're saying that we can get publicity, and the writers can't, and so they talk like that. But I still don't know who in particular will be doing that. I simply don't know.
It's too early.
Okay, yeah, it is too early.
I have one more random question, and then we'll open it up. But next week, the big buzz is 2 movies coming out: Barbie and Oppenheimer. On the same day, I'm really captivated by this. I can't lie. 2 big celebrities in very different ways. Are you going to go see either movie? And which one would you go to first, Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Oh, yeah. This is an easy one. I actually have tickets to go see the Oppenheimer movie next Wednesday.
Oh,
yeah, it's a pity because he spent the end of his life in Princeton.
You mentioned
where I live,
yeah.
and then like about 3 blocks from me. And he died there. And then they're having a preview of some kind. And his movie was partly filmed there. And so, and Oppenheimer, I don't know if hero is the right word, but he was a victim. He was a hero and a victim, both. And so his life became overly complicated. And I'm looking forward to seeing the movie just because of the human dimension that it reveals about him. Yeah. But and I certainly admire him.
You didn't say anything about Barbie, though.
You didn't say anything about
I
Barbie.
have no comment. I know nothing about Barbie.
I recommend, I think the thing to do is go see Oppenheimer and then go see Barbie. Anyway, shall we go ahead and open it up for questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wrote you a letter in 1996. I wrote to you in 1996. I wrote you a letter because I read something in People magazine that I wanted your opinion, and I never got an answer until, wait.
Oh, no.
That was 1996. So one day an envelope came from 20 Hibben Road, Princeton, New Jersey, and it said, "Dear Adrian, is 17 years too long?" And you wrote me a nice long letter.
Oh, I did? Who did? I did this?
I'll show you.
Okay.
You know, it was about baby boomers and the date. You remember that? And you wrote me back, and
No, that's
17 years later.
Oh, good.
I got it, I'll show you.
Okay.
I'll pass it forward here.
Oh, wow.
So how do you do?
Thank you.
There you go, if you'd like to see.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want it back.
Oh, yeah. Should I bring it back?
No, not right now.
What do you want me to do? Well,
Oh, she'll get it back to me later.
Yeah.
okay.
Do you have another question?
Or anyone else?
Good, yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, I am really puzzled by this fascination with celebrities, and I've been trying to figure out what it is. I have my own theory about it, and I think that we have a lot of people who have nothing going on in their lives. They're sort of lost souls, so they live vicariously through other people, whether it's musicians, actors, or athletes. So what do you think of this element of vicariousness in society?
Well, I mean, it is identified, and I'm not a psychologist, but they have a name for it, a parasocial relationship, a one-way relationship, in which you think you know someone intimately, and that person doesn't know you. And so it seems to be part of an itch that needs to be scratched that a lot of people have. And it may be, I don't know why they establish a parasocial relationship, unless there's some larger problem, in their own life or whatever. But it's recognized, and what you're saying is correct. That is a lot of the issue.
I would like to say that I think it's people that have too much on their plate. And they've got children and they're teaching and they're picking out groceries, and it's so nice to just zone out. And those aren't my problems, and my life looks wonderful in comparison to their problems. So I think it can go the other way too, because I can think of several people that I know that we talk about that's just, you like a particular movie, so you love that actor, and it's mainly just to help you not have to deal with a lot of the stuff that's crowding your life.
When people started, we did not use the word celebrities at all. We thought the idea was to write about extraordinary people who did amazing things, or ordinary people who did something great. And we tried to characterize them as just like you and me. So you could recognize them. So there was somebody you could recognize, and there could be a bond that way. And so you look at them, and so it was some schadenfreude, which you took pleasure in their misery, But there was also this sort of curiosity of that life was like mine, and I could be that too. And I'm not exactly answering your good question, but it's sort of something that happened. And then we began to notice that we sold more copies when we put TV people on the cover, and the TV people sold great. And so we just went that way. So it ultimately became a marketing decision.
When you talk about the lack of emphasis we have on heroes, think about this. One of the people most frequently in the news is Vladimir Putin. Now, would he be addressed by people within his own country or in other countries as a hero for the actions he has taken and he's taking now?
Well, big question.
It is. That sounds like time for a political scientist. But I see him as an autocrat, and a lot of it is based on fear. So I don't think that people see the self-sacrifice and notice idea that we attribute to heroes with someone like that. For some reason, when you were talking, I was just sort of short-circuiting on some other people in the public eye like that currently. And I was thinking of Prince Harry, and then that reminded me of Robert Kennedy Jr. And for a bunch of reasons. One of them is they both have parents who died violently, Harry and RK Jr. And but these guys, and to a lesser extent, Hunter Biden, but they are all in the news. But the question becomes, well, why? What did they accomplish? What did they do? Why do we admire them? And the answer is, generally speaking, no, no, no. And so I don't know, this is the opposite of what you're saying, but it certainly has been on my mind these days, and I've almost wanted to write about these three men and their weird prominence, but without any accomplishment. And someone, particularly Harry, somewhat Prince Harry, somewhat ambivalent about it. He wants to have it both ways. And he wants to complain about the press ruining his life and being loathsome and vile. But he also wants to take advantage of his own celebrityhood as if it's unrelated. And we go on Oprah and sell books, and so it's a very, very odd situation.
Is that really? Yeah, that's an interesting mix to think about. Other questions, thoughts?
Lanny, I know you were the editor of the Princetonian, the Daily Princetonian, because I read it. But did you do journalism in high school? Did you start early? And in your career?
Yeah, but that journalism in high school, not much. I wrote a little bit for the high school newspaper, but I was not a prominent. I was just a contributor.
So fast forward to people, do you feel a little bit of a mea culpa that you may have contributed to the celebrity culture?
I do. That's a word. I do feel a little bit of mea culpa. I mean, we used to say when people became a huge success, the most biggest success in publishing history, practically. But then we had imitators, and we didn't like them. But then they were unprincipled, we thought. But then we said that we were not responsible for the actions of our imitators. And that was, we sort of copped around it. But in a lot of ways, I think writing the book was a way to get at some of the mea culpa aspects and try to understand it. And why did it happen? And how long has it been going on? We didn't invent it either. I mean, it's been going on, since Sarah Bernhardt, and it's been, Mark Twain, and people in the 19th century, Oscar Wilde, who were something like a celebrity and were outrageous. And so we didn't exactly invent it, but we certainly made it went to, great lengths afterwards.
Lanny, talking about celebrities and heroes, I've been reading a lot about Elon Musk and Zuckerberg being compared to one another. How would you fit them into this constellation of celebrity? Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook.
Well, I haven't thought too much about them, honestly, but they seem very powerful. I mean, they just have all this power. And they command, let's see here, they command, what bizarre, are they going to wrestle each other or something? I mean, it's really bizarre. And that seems to be playing into some kind of heroic, some celebrity, narrative. And I don't know, I mentioned earlier the defiant, and how defiance is a characteristic of a lot of celebrities, and both of them have aspects of defiance in them. I'm not going to play by the rules. That's basically what some of them are saying. I don't know. You would have better thoughts probably than I would on that.
Other?
This is a light question. What would have happened at People magazine if it was announced that John F. Kennedy Jr. and Princess Di were going to get married?
I'm sorry, Joe. I couldn't read your lips.
What if People magazine had announced that JFK Jr. and Princess Diana were getting married? I like this question. That's great.
Would have doubled the publication.
I don't know what about that. I don't know. We would not print the rumor.
Okay.
We checked everything, people. We were never sued. I've been doing legal, we did the legal homework. Well,
Except for that
everything.
one time,
Huh?
except for that one time.
What one
The
time?
late,
Oh, the late
a,
big Pagoda.
Oh, he did not sue. He complained. Well, are we okay here?
Yeah.
People,
Any last
Okay.
questions?
people have been punished enough.
They'll just ask you in line while they're
Sure.
getting their books signed.
Okay, all right. Thank you, babe. Thank you all for coming. By the way. Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead.
We have copies of the book for sale at the front desk, and I'm sure we can get them signed. We also have Tanya's book as well. Thanks for coming in.
It's your book, David?
That's what you just said.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we have it at the front desk.
You should have talked about your book. I meant to do that. I'm sorry, I should have talked about it.
So my book is called, actually,